In this last example, we're going to look at writing large and small numbers with rounded decimals. So the directions say to write the decimal approximations for the given numbers as place value numbers. Use the place value chart below to aid your work. So the idea here is lots of times you'll see in the news or on the internet that people use decimal values for really large or really small numbers. For example, reading through these briefly, 2.9 thousand feet. Okay, so that's not just 2.9 ones, this is 2.9 thousands. The number of people in China in 2013, 1.357 billion. Okay, and then the thickness of a dollar, 1.1 hundredths of a centimeter thick. Okay, so all of these are decimal values, but it's referring to a unit that is not 1. So typically when we say 2.9, what we mean is 2.9 ones. We don't say the ones, it's implied. And if we read a really large number, we read the headings from the top of it. But here, starting with the first one, Mount Everest is approximately 2.9 thousand feet. Okay. Somebody didn't want to say exactly how high it is, and maybe it wouldn't be that useful for us to know that it's 2,932.5742 feet. So we use this approximation. Okay, but let's make sure that we know what this number represents as our typical place value numbers. So if we have 2.9 thousand feet, going to the thousands place, that means we have 2 1,000s, and 0.9 would actually refer to the hundredths place. Okay, now we're going to fill in the rest with zeros, and all of the decimals would be 0. Okay. So this is the decimal point. So 2.9 thousand feet is 2 1,000 feet. The 0.9, because our place value system is based on 10, 0.9 of 1,000 is actually 9 hundredths. So our answer for A would be 2,900 feet. Okay. So 2.9 thousand feet is another way of saying 2,900 feet. Let's look at the next one. In 2013, the population of China was approximately 1.357 billion people. Okay, so the unit of measure we're using here is billions. So I'm going to go to the billions. Let's use a different color. Now I have 1.357 billion. Here's the 1 billions place. So I have 1 billion, and the 357 go into the next decimal places. So 0.357 of a billion is actually millions. Okay. And now I can fill in the rest with zeros. Okay, that's a decimal. We're not using anything in the decimal values here. So 1.357 billion is equivalent to 1,357,000,000, and we'll need 6 zeros. So this one really starts to show you why people typically, and we might write something like 1.357 billion instead of this number. And because this is a really large number, it takes up a lot of space, so it's easier to write it this way. And when you start thinking of things like distances in space that are trillions, or word names that I don't even know, really, really far, the numbers get really, really large, and we don't want to write a lot of zeros, so we just put the place value and use a decimal. So both of these were actually larger numbers than 1. The next one, or the last one, is a smaller number. A dollar bill is approximately 1.1 hundredths of a centimeter thick. Okay, so we're going to go to the hundredths column. Okay, and we have 1 hundredth and then 0.1 of a hundredth, which is 1,000. So these are the 2 decimal values represented by the 1.1, and the rest are 0. And I'm not going to fill all those in, but I will fill in the zeros place and the tenths place with 0. This one is really important, or else you'd be writing, if you wrote 0.11, that would be 1/10 and 1/100th. So C is equivalent to 0.011 centimeters, or 11 thousandths of a centimeter. Okay, so this way is our way of rewriting this small number as a number between 1 and 10 that's a little bit more easy to understand.